Imagine living a life where nothing outside of your control could disturb your peace, where challenges were embraced as opportunities for growth, and where inner strength guided you through every obstacle. That life is not just a dream, it's a possibility, and Stoicism offers the roadmap. But most of us are held back by certain habits that slowly weaken us, eroding our resilience and preventing us from achieving the calm and purposeful life we truly desire. In today's video, we'll explore 8 of these destructive habits that silently undermine your strength. Each one will be examined through the lens of Stoic philosophy, providing you with the tools to break free from these habits and live a life of courage, wisdom, and inner peace. By the end of this video, you will not only be equipped with practical insights to eliminate these harmful habits, but you'll also gain a deeper understanding of how to apply Stoicism to everyday life. You'll discover how to face discomfort head-on, how to detach from materialism, and how to let go of the past. Stay with us through this transformative journey, and you'll leave with a newfound clarity and strength, ready to seize the day and live a life of true meaning. 1. Seeking external validation. In a world dominated by social media, how often do you find yourself seeking approval from others? Whether it's through likes, comments, or praise, many of us have become dependent on external validation. But what does that really offer you? Does the approval of others bring lasting fulfillment? Or does it leave you in a constant cycle of chasing approval, never fully satisfied? Stoicism reminds us that relying on external validation weakens us because it places our sense of worth in the hands of others, something entirely out of our control. Consider this. If your happiness is tied to how others perceive you, how fragile is that happiness? What happens when the praise fades or when criticism comes your way? Are you prepared to let those external factors dictate how you feel about yourself? Stoicism teaches that true strength and contentment come from within, from cultivating virtues like wisdom, courage, and justice. These virtues are not dependent on others' opinions. As Marcus Aurelius wisely stated, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." Why do we allow others to define our worth when we know deep down that only we can control our actions, thoughts, and responses? When you focus on cultivating inner virtues rather than seeking validation, you become less vulnerable to the opinions of others. Instead of being tossed around by the waves of public approval or criticism, you stand firm, grounded in your own principles. This is what Stoicism offers: a sense of stability that cannot be shaken by external forces. Imagine a life where you no longer seek approval from others, where your actions are guided by what is right, not by what will earn you praise. How liberating would that be? Instead of living for others' approval, you begin to live for your own growth and moral development. You start to understand that what truly matters is how you align your actions with your values, not how others perceive those actions. But breaking free from the habit of seeking external validation isn't easy. It requires constant self-reflection and mindfulness. The next time you find yourself seeking approval, ask yourself, why do I need this? Does this validation align with my values? Or am I just looking for approval to feel good temporarily? To break this habit, Stoicism advises that you surround yourself with people who inspire you to grow and improve, not people whose opinions are shallow and fleeting. As Epictetus advised, the key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best. Reflect on this in your own life. Who are the people you seek approval from? Do their opinions truly matter, or are you giving too much weight to judgments that do not align with your values? As you begin to focus on cultivating inner virtues and detach from the need for external validation, you will find a newfound strength that cannot be swayed by the opinions of others. you will begin to see that true fulfillment comes from living in accordance with your principles, not from seeking approval. Next, let's dive into a habit that is equally damaging: procrastination, and how Stoicism teaches us to seize the day. 2. Procrastination. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, "I'll do it tomorrow"? You might put off tasks, believing that there will always be more time. But how often does tomorrow turn into next week or next month? This habit of procrastination slowly chips away at your potential, leaving behind wasted time and missed opportunities. The real question is, why do we procrastinate, and how can we overcome this habit that weakens our resolve? Procrastination stems from two primary sources: fear of failure and discomfort with the task at hand. We delay action because we either worry about the potential outcomes or find the task too overwhelming or tedious. But how does Stoicism view this habit? To a Stoic, procrastination is a direct rejection of the present moment, the only time we truly possess. Epictetus taught us to focus on what is within our control, and one of the few things we can control is our present actions. Yet, when we procrastinate, we hand over that control to anxiety and avoidance. Ask yourself, what have you postponed today that could have been accomplished? What tasks are you delaying simply because they seem difficult or uncomfortable? And more importantly, how much precious time are you losing by waiting? Time is a finite resource. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, reminds us, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. In Stoicism, this reminder of mortality, called the solution to procrastination in Stoicism, is to, but what about the discomfort that often leads to procrastination? Stoicism teaches us that discomfort is not something to be avoided. It's something to be embraced. Every task that challenges you is an opportunity for growth. If we constantly avoid discomfort, we also avoid growth, leaving ourselves weak and unprepared for life's inevitable challenges. The Stoic response is simple: embrace the discomfort, face it head-on, and understand that it is through this struggle that we become stronger, more resilient. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding because it seems uncomfortable? Can I take one small step toward completing that task today? How will I feel if I accomplish it now, rather than letting it hang over my head? By addressing these questions, you begin to shift your mindset from avoidance to action. To overcome procrastination, set small, achievable goals. Break the task into manageable steps and focus on the process, not the outcome. Stoicism teaches us that we should not be attached to results, as they are often beyond our control. Instead, focus on what you can do in this moment, right now. Remember, every day you delay is a day you'll never get back. Each moment lost to procrastination is a moment lost forever. Embrace the present, seize the day, and take action. The more you do this, the more you will build your inner strength and discipline. Now that we've addressed procrastination, let's move on to a habit that erodes your self-esteem: negative self-talk. 3. Negative self-talk. Reframe your inner dialogue. Build strength from within. Have you ever listened to the way you talk to yourself? We all have that inner voice, but for many, it is a voice of constant criticism, doubt, and negativity. I'm not good enough. I always mess up. I'll never succeed. These are the whispers of negative self-talk that tear down our confidence and weaken our resolve. But have you ever stopped to question the truth of these thoughts? Are they based on reality, or are they simply a reflection of our deepest insecurities? Negative self-talk is a habit that traps us in a cycle of self-doubt and fear. The more we indulge it, the more it shapes our perception of ourselves and the world around us. Marcus Aurelius famously said, "Our life is what our thoughts make it." If we fill our minds with thoughts of failure and inadequacy, how can we expect to lead a life of strength and purpose? Stoicism offers us a solution to break free from the chains of negative self-talk. It starts with self-awareness. The first step is to observe your inner dialogue without judgment. When a negative thought arises, pause and ask yourself, is this thought rational? Is there evidence to support it, or is it driven by fear and insecurity? This practice of self-examination is key to breaking the habit of negative self-talk. Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Similarly, it's not the initial negative thought that weakens us, but how we choose to engage with it. Think of your mind as a garden. Every thought is a seed. If you constantly plant seeds of doubt, fear, and negativity, what will your garden look like? It will be overgrown with weeds, preventing anything beautiful or strong from flourishing. But if you choose to plant seeds of self-compassion, rationality, and courage, your garden will reflect that. What kind of garden are you cultivating in your mind? One way to combat negative self-talk is to practice the Stoic principle of sympatheia, which encourages us to be as kind to ourselves as we would be to others. Think of how you would comfort a close friend going through a difficult time. Would you harshly criticize them, or would you offer them understanding and encouragement? Why then do we treat ourselves with less compassion than we offer to others? Ask yourself, how often do you catch yourself engaging in negative self-talk? What would happen if, instead of criticizing yourself, you offered yourself words of encouragement? What if you replaced those negative thoughts with rational ones, grounded in reality? The next time you find yourself spiraling into negative self-talk, pause. Ask yourself, is this helping me, or is it holding me back? As you begin to replace negative self-talk with rational and compassionate thoughts, you will discover an inner strength that you never knew existed. It's important to note that changing your inner dialogue won't happen overnight. It's a gradual process, one that requires patience and consistency. But every time you catch a negative thought and challenge it, you are building mental resilience, and that is where true strength lies. If you've made it this far in the video, you're already on the path to transforming your mindset and adopting Stoic principles. Don't stop now. Stay with us as we explore more habits that weaken you and learn how Stoicism can empower you to overcome them. Next, we'll discuss a habit that limits your growth, avoiding challenges. 4. Avoiding challenges. Step out of your comfort zone. Growth lies beyond fear. How often do you find yourself avoiding challenges, choosing the path of least resistance simply because it feels safer? Avoiding discomfort, conflict, or difficult situations might seem like a way to protect yourself, but in reality, it weakens you. By staying in your comfort zone, you are depriving yourself of the opportunities that foster growth, resilience, and strength. But why do we fear challenges? And more importantly, how can we shift our mindset to embrace them? At the heart of avoiding challenges is the fear of failure. We avoid what is uncomfortable because we are afraid we won't succeed, afraid we'll embarrass ourselves, or afraid of the unknown. But Stoicism teaches us to view these challenges through a different lens. Instead of fearing discomfort, the Stoics saw it as a necessary part of personal development. In the words of Epictetus, difficulties are things that show a person what they are. Ask yourself, what are the challenges you've been avoiding in your life? Is it a difficult conversation you need to have? A new skill you've been hesitant to learn? Or perhaps a life decision you've delayed because the unknown feels overwhelming? Now ask yourself, what have you gained from avoiding these challenges? Has your avoidance made you stronger, or has it left you feeling stagnant? Stoicism teaches us that true strength and virtue are cultivated by facing difficulty head-on. It is through these challenges that we develop patience, courage, and adaptability, qualities that are essential for a meaningful life. The Stoics remind us that the easy path often leads to complacency, while the difficult path leads to growth. Think about it. What would your life look like if you consistently embraced discomfort instead of avoiding it? Imagine viewing every challenge as an opportunity to build resilience. How would that shift your perspective? Instead of seeing obstacles as threats, you begin to see them as stepping stones towards self-improvement. Marcus Aurelius understood this well when he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In Stoicism, obstacles are not things to fear, they are the path forward. Ask yourself, what if you stopped viewing failure as something to be feared and instead embraced it as part of the learning process? After all, every failure brings with it a lesson, and every challenge you face strengthens your ability to confront future difficulties. By avoiding challenges, you miss the opportunity to grow, both mentally and emotionally. But embracing challenges doesn't mean seeking out suffering for the sake of it. Stoicism is about understanding that discomfort is an inevitable part of life and that how we face it determines our strength. It's about developing the courage to do what is necessary, even when it's difficult, and trusting that you will emerge stronger on the other side. To start embracing challenges, reflect on what you've been avoiding. Identify one small challenge that you can face today. It doesn't have to be monumental. Small steps lead to big change. How can you push yourself out of your comfort zone, even just a little? The more you practice stepping into discomfort, the more you'll build your capacity to face greater challenges with confidence and calm. Now, you may be thinking, what if I fail? Stoicism has an answer for that too. Failure, according to Stoicism, is not something to be feared. It is simply feedback. Every failure offers a lesson, and every lesson is an opportunity to improve. So, rather than fearing failure, welcome it. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? And keep moving forward. If you've ever wondered how to break free from the habit of avoiding challenges, Stoicism provides the answer. It encourages us to step into discomfort, face our fears, and trust that the process of growth is worth the difficulty. The next time you find yourself avoiding something difficult, pause and ask, what will I gain from confronting this head-on? How will this challenge help me grow? Now that we've discussed the power of embracing challenges, let's turn to a habit that plagues many of us: indulging in excessive materialism. 5. Indulging in excessive materialism. Prioritize inner virtue over external wealth. In a world driven by consumerism, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that more is better. More money, more possessions, more status. Society constantly tells us that happiness and success are found in material wealth. But how much is enough? And more importantly, does accumulating material possessions truly bring you lasting fulfillment? Or does it leave you feeling empty, constantly chasing after the next thing? Stoicism offers a different perspective on material wealth. The Stoics recognized that external goods, whether it's money, luxury, or possessions, are transient. They are outside of our control and can be lost or taken away at any moment. If our happiness is tied to these external things, then our happiness is fragile, constantly at risk of being shattered by forces beyond our control. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, warned, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Take a moment to reflect on this. How much of your time and energy is spent pursuing material possessions? Do you find yourself constantly thinking about money, status, or acquiring more things? And when you do acquire these things, does the satisfaction last, or do you find yourself wanting more? Stoicism teaches that true fulfillment comes not from external wealth, but from cultivating inner virtues. Virtues like wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline are within our control and cannot be taken from us. Unlike material goods, which are fleeting, virtues are lasting. They are the foundation of a meaningful and content life. As Marcus Aurelius wisely noted, very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. Ask yourself, what would your life look like if you shifted your focus from accumulating more to cultivating more wisdom, more kindness, more self-discipline? How would that change the way you view success and happiness? The pursuit of material wealth often leads to a never-ending cycle of dissatisfaction. When we tie our self-worth to what we own, we are left constantly chasing the next thing, believing that happiness lies just around the corner with the next purchase. But the truth is, no amount of material wealth will ever be enough if we have not cultivated inner contentment. Stoicism encourages us to practice detachment from material things. This doesn't mean that we must live in poverty or reject all material goods, but rather that we should not become attached to them. We must recognize that material things are simply tools to be used, not sources of our identity or happiness. Ask yourself, what material possessions are you most attached to? How would you feel if they were suddenly taken away? Would you be able to find peace and contentment without them? One powerful practice that Stoicism offers is the art of gratitude. Rather than constantly focusing on what we lack, Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we already have. By practicing gratitude, we shift our perspective from one of scarcity to one of abundance. We begin to appreciate the simple things, our health, our relationships, the beauty of nature. These are the things that truly bring lasting fulfillment, not the accumulation of material goods. If you've ever felt trapped in the cycle of consumerism, always wanting more, take a moment to reflect. What are the things that truly matter to you? Are they material possessions, or are they virtues, relationships, and experiences? By prioritizing inner wealth over external wealth, you free yourself from the constant chase for more and discover a deeper sense of contentment. Now that you've recognized the power of detaching from materialism, I encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments below. What are some ways you've practiced detachment from material wealth? How has it impacted your life? Your reflections might inspire others on their journey to embracing Stoicism. With that, let's move on to another habit that weakens us: our inability to cope with negative emotions. 6. Inability to cope with negative emotions. Master your emotions. Don't let them master you. How often do you find yourself overwhelmed by anger, anxiety, jealousy, or fear? Negative emotions are part of the human experience, but when we allow them to control us, they weaken our ability to make rational decisions and act in alignment with our values. But what if you could take control of these emotions instead of being controlled by them? How would that change the way you face life's challenges? Stoicism teaches that emotions are not inherently bad, but it is our unchecked reaction to them that causes us harm. In the words of Marcus Aurelius, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. What color are your thoughts when you are overwhelmed with anger or jealousy? How do those emotions affect your decisions, your relationships, and your inner peace? The Stoics understood that negative emotions arise from our perceptions of events, not the events themselves. As Epictetus wisely noted, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. So, what are you allowing to influence your emotional state? Is it external circumstances beyond your control? Are you reacting impulsively? Or are you taking a step back and choosing a more rational, thoughtful response? The practice of Stoicism emphasizes emotional resilience, learning to observe your emotions without being consumed by them. This is not about suppressing your feelings, but about cultivating an awareness of them, understanding their root causes, and responding in a way that aligns with reason and virtue. Ask yourself, when was the last time you acted out of anger? Did your actions reflect who you want to be, or did they reflect an impulsive reaction? And more importantly, what were the consequences? One of the core principles of Stoicism is the idea of apatheia, which refers to a state of being where one is free from destructive emotions. But this doesn't mean you become emotionless or indifferent to life. Instead, it means you develop emotional resilience, a calm and rational mind that is not swayed by the ups and downs of life. It's about mastering your emotions rather than being mastered by them. Take, for example, anger. When you react in anger, your judgment becomes clouded, and you are more likely to say or do things you later regret. The Stoics would advise you to pause and examine the source of that anger. What expectations or desires are fueling it? Is the anger justified? Or are you reacting to something that is ultimately outside of your control? Marcus Aurelius reminds us, how much more harmful are the consequences of anger than the circumstances that aroused them in us? Reflect on your own experiences. How often have your negative emotions led you to outcomes that you regret? How many relationships, opportunities, or moments of peace have been sacrificed because you allowed emotions like anger, envy, or anxiety to dictate your actions? To cultivate emotional resilience, begin by practicing mindfulness. When you notice a strong emotion arising, pause. Observe the emotion without judgment and ask yourself, what is the source of this feeling? Is it something within my control, or am I reacting to an external event? What is the most rational and virtuous response in this situation? Stoicism also encourages us to reframe our thoughts. Instead of viewing negative emotions as enemies to be avoided, see them as opportunities for growth. For example, when you feel jealousy arise, ask yourself, why do I feel this way? Is it because I'm comparing myself to others? How can I shift my focus to gratitude for what I already have? Similarly, when faced with anxiety, the Stoics would remind us to focus on what we can control and let go of the rest. Anxiety often stems from worrying about the future, something that is ultimately beyond our control. By staying grounded in the present moment and focusing on what we can do right now, we can lessen the grip that anxiety holds on us. Ask yourself, what is within my power at this moment? What actions can I take today to address this situation? Remember, negative emotions are a natural part of life, but they don't have to define you. By practicing mindfulness, reframing your thoughts, and focusing on what is within your control, you can learn to navigate these emotions with wisdom and grace. Now that we've explored emotional resilience, let's dive into a habit that often keeps us stuck in the past: dwelling on mistakes. 7. Dwelling on past mistakes. Let go of the past. Focus on the present. How often do you find yourself replaying past mistakes in your mind, wishing you had acted differently or made better decisions? This habit of dwelling on the past can be debilitating, keeping you trapped in a cycle of regret and self-blame. But what does Stoicism have to say about this? How can we learn to let go of the past and focus on the present moment, where true change is possible? According to Stoic philosophy, the past is beyond our control. What's done is done, and no amount of regret or rumination can change it. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart." In other words, Stoicism teaches us to accept what has happened, learn from it, and move forward. Ask yourself, how much time have you spent rehashing past mistakes? What has it brought you, peace or more suffering? How often has regret prevented you from taking action in the present? Dwelling on past mistakes weakens us because it keeps our focus on what we cannot change, rather than on what we can control, our present thoughts and actions. The Stoics believed that the present moment is the only time we have any true power. By holding on to the past, we rob ourselves of the opportunity to live fully in the present and to make better choices moving forward. Stoicism teaches us to practice self-forgiveness. We are all human, and we all make mistakes. What's important is not the mistake itself, but how we choose to respond to it. Will you allow your past to define you, or will you learn from it and grow stronger? Seneca reminds us, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. The past may shape you, but it does not have to control your future. The next time you find yourself ruminating on a past mistake, ask yourself, is this helping me? Can I change what happened? Or am I simply reliving the pain? What lesson can I take from this, and how can I apply it to my life today? Mindfulness is a powerful tool in letting go of the past. By bringing your attention to the present moment, you can break the cycle of regret and focus on what you can do now. Practice grounding yourself in the here and now. Notice your thoughts and gently remind yourself that the past cannot be changed, but the present is full of possibility. In addition to mindfulness, Stoicism encourages the practice of amor fati, or love of fate. This means embracing everything that has happened, both the good and the bad, as necessary parts of your journey. Instead of resenting your past mistakes, can you learn to see them as valuable lessons that have shaped who you are today? Can you accept them as part of the path that has brought you to this moment? By practicing self-forgiveness and focusing on the present, you free yourself from the weight of the past. You gain the ability to move forward with a clear mind and an open heart, ready to take on new challenges and opportunities. The past is only a teacher. It does not have the power to dictate your future. Now that we've learned to let go of the past, let's turn our attention to the well-being of others and how ignoring it weakens our moral strength. 8. Ignoring the well-being of others. Cultivate compassion. We are all connected. In today's fast-paced, individualistic world, it's easy to become consumed with our own needs and goals, forgetting the importance of compassion and empathy for others. But have you ever considered how ignoring the well-being of those around you weakens your moral character? How does neglecting the needs of others limit your capacity for growth and connection? Stoicism teaches that we are all part of a larger community, interconnected in ways that go beyond our individual desires. The Stoics called this concept cosmopolitanism, the idea that we are all citizens of the world and that we share a duty to contribute to the greater good. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What injures the hive injures the bee." In other words, when we ignore the well-being of others, we ultimately harm ourselves, as we are all part of the same human community. Ask yourself, how often do you take time to consider the needs of those around you? Are you so focused on your own success that you forget about the struggles of others? What opportunities for kindness or compassion have you overlooked simply because you were too preoccupied with your own concerns? Stoicism teaches us that true moral strength comes from living in harmony with others and recognizing our shared humanity. It's not enough to focus solely on our own virtues. We must also consider how our actions impact the people around us. By ignoring the well-being of others, we cut ourselves off from the opportunity to practice kindness, generosity, and empathy, virtues that are essential to a fulfilling and ethical life. Take a moment to reflect. When was the last time you went out of your way to help someone, even in a small way? How did that action make you feel? Did it strengthen your sense of connection to the world, or did it reinforce your own moral character? Stoicism encourages us to cultivate compassion, not just for our own benefit, but for the benefit of the entire community. When we help others, we strengthen the bonds that connect us all, creating a more just and harmonious society. And when we ignore the needs of others, we weaken those bonds, creating division and isolation. Imagine a world where everyone took a moment to consider the well-being of those around them. How much stronger would our communities be if we all practiced a little more empathy and kindness? How would that shift the way we live our lives, not just for ourselves, but for the greater good? By embracing the Stoic principle of cosmopolitanism, we learn to see beyond our individual desires and understand that our happiness and well-being are tied to the happiness and well-being of others. As we strengthen our own virtues, we must also strive to support and uplift those around us. In this video, we've explored 8 destructive habits that weaken us and how Stoicism provides a powerful philosophy to overcome them. From letting go of external validation to mastering your emotions and embracing challenges, Stoicism teaches us how to live a life of virtue, strength, and inner peace. By applying these timeless principles, you can transform your habits and lead a more resilient and meaningful life. Now that you've completed this journey, what steps will you take to implement Stoicism in your daily life? Will you stop procrastinating and seize the day? Will you let go of materialism and focus on cultivating inner virtue? The power to change is in your hands. If you found value in this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay connected with future content. And if you know someone who could benefit from these Stoic teachings, please share this video with them. Let's continue this journey of growth and resilience together. Thank you for watching, and may your path be filled with wisdom, courage, and inner peace. Embrace Stoicism and live a life of true strength.